You are listening to TBR Radio presents the DIXIE Heritage Show, with your host, the Director of DIXIE Heritage, Dr. Ed DeVries.
Back on January 11th of this year, I was a guest on Eddie Miller's Blood River Radio. Blood River Radio is a show that's broadcasting out of a radio studio and on an AM station in Memphis, Tennessee. But they also have several affiliates around the country as well on both AM and FM. So it's very possible that where you live, you can listen to Blood River Radio, and also it's on the internet, www.bloodriverradio.com. And so even if you can't catch it on the AM or FM, you can definitely catch it on the internet. And so I enjoyed very much the conversation with Eddie, and we're going to share that with you on today's TBR Radio Presents the DIXIE Heritage Show. You will notice in some places that we have substituted what were the Blood River Radio commercials for our own, but other than that, we're basically giving you the show just as it was when I was on the air with Eddie Miller.
All right, sir, I'll put you up a couple of commercials. You'll be live with Jacob and Eddie, okay?
All right, thank you.
Video footage of the area around Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell on the day he survived an apparent suicide attempt no longer exists.
Officials at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York believe that they had preserved footage of guards fighting Epstein after he appeared to have attempted suicide, but actually saved a video from a different part of the jail, prosecutors said. The FBI also determined that the footage does not exist on the jail's backup video system as a result of technical error. Patrick Foss reporting.
Federal safety officials will fine Boeing $5.4 million for installing substandard parts on the wings of some of its now grounded 737 MAX jetliners. The FAA says poor oversight of suppliers led Boeing to install the parts, which could become brittle and weak because of mistakes during manufacturing. Boeing already faces a $3.9 million fine for installing the same flawed parts on other 737s besides the MAX. More at townhall.com.
I'm Michael Hill, President of the League of the South. I and my compatriots are Southern nationalists. We seek the survival, well-being, and independence of the Southern people, our people. The League wants a South that enjoys the sweet fruits of Christian liberty and prosperity, but our current situation won't allow it. We must have our independence from Washington, D.C. and the globalists. The present system cannot be reformed. Without independence, we will continue down this path of destruction. To us, this is not acceptable. I'm asking you, Southern man and woman, to join us today to free the South. Call us at 256-757-6789 or see our website at www.leagueofthesouth.com. God save the South.
Hey, this is Matt from Blood River Radio. Blood River Radio is your voice to save our land, our people, and our future. We propose Christian solutions to an anti-Christian assault on our bloodline. We love what we do, but we cannot do it without your help. The annual operating cost of Blood River Radio is more than even a team of people should bear alone. With your donation, we can take the fight to our enemies and hold our own people accountable for their treachery against us. Please go to our website, www.bloodriverradio.com, and find a way to help us that is suitable for you. We are thankful for any cash, check, or money orders we get. We also appreciate your correspondence or letters of encouragement. Once again, please help. And thank you for joining the fight.
Okay, listen up, people. I'm beating the bushes for a few good men. I don't want you boys the alt-right. I want the hardcore of the hard right. And I need you front and center, boots on the ground at a minute's notice in the streets, and I need your money. You know the problem that the whites of the world face. It's the all-too-real threat of global extermination. And you know what's going on in South Africa and Western Europe. And unless you're semi-comatose, you've already seen the first stages of white genocide unfolding in our country. Our culture is under constant full-scale attack by our enemy. The enemy never sleeps. They spend day and night wrecking the monuments and the graves of our beloved kin. They attack us physically everywhere we go. They've already taken the linen and our stone. Now they're coming after our flesh. And if you're not too squeamish, if you want to be part of the #1 white advocacy group and the #1 white civil defense group in the United States, then contact Eddie Bombardier Miller at bloodriverradio.com. And please, please donate. And God knows you need us as much as we need you. Thank you.
Our show's name pays tribute to the Voortrekkers of South Africa, who in 1838 soundly defeated on the bank of the Nkome River, thereafter called Blood River, from the water turning red with the blood of the slain. Miraculously, no Voortrekker died and only 3 were wounded. Now, your friend, Eddie Miller, will be your ambassador for tonight's show.
It's an hour of Blood River Radio tonight. I certainly appreciate y'all hanging on. We had a great guest on. Just in case some of you people came in late, we had Mr. Paul Fromm. He's a great guy from Canada. He's been on here several times before, and he always does a wonderful job. We love him to death. We have a great guest coming on next. This will be his first time to come on Blood River Radio. His name is Dr. Edward DeFries. He's with DIXIE Heritage. But I'm getting ready to go to him, and we're going to bring Jacob in a minute. But, you know, people, I screwed up the first hour. It's the first time ever with this show that we didn't open with a prayer. It's all my fault. I was too busy trying to, take care of too many things at one time, and my little brain wouldn't do it. But anyway, before we go to our guests, people, we're going to go to the prayer because we're not leaving. We're not going to do one single show without doing a prayer. I can double guarantee you that. Take it away, Lee.
Okay. Yes. Everybody bow their heads. Dear Father in heaven, please help our struggle against secret combinations, and please help America help us to prevent going into foreign wars and civil wars, and please help our political prisoners in America, and please help the white farmers in South Africa for being genocide, and please help us to repeal the the United States, Mexico and Canada agreement, and please help us to have courage and faith. In Jesus Christ we pray, amen.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much. Lee, back before he was as sick as he is now, he's health problems and stuff. But I'm amazed that he can do as well as he does. He's just a great guy. Thank you so much for that prayer. He was a Sunday school teacher one time years ago. I didn't mean to disparage him by saying he's sick, but he has a lot of health problems. He comes in here day in, day out. He takes me all over the country, and it's not always easy for him because he does have a lot of health problems. I would hope you people out there will pray for Lee. But how are you doing tonight, Mr. Edward DeFries? I'm really excited about having you on tonight. This will be your first trip here at Blood River Radio.
Yes, sir, it is, and I've been looking forward to being with you for some time now, and appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here and putting up with my old redneck, with my redneck show. But hey, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of our show. I'm really, really proud of it. I'll tell you what, we kind of fly by the fifth seat of our pants a little bit, but here's the history. I'm an old combat medic, a registered nurse, and I've done everything you can think of. I worked at truck lines and eons ago. Really proud of being, I'm not just a regular registered nurse. I'm a damn good nurse. I'm trauma certified. But a couple of years ago, at a deer camp up in Collinwood, Tennessee, up that neck of the woods, I had a dream, and I dreamed that we had to do something. We had been talking about South Africa, the genocide in South Africa, the hell that those people are going through there. Me and two of my other co-hosts. Well, my co-host, we have an honorary co-host. I have another co-host who can't be with us tonight, Matt Goodwin. We had one of our dear friends, Rich Hamblin, and one of our honorary co-hosts, Gene. I call him Mr. Marine Gene Andrews. We all rode to Charlottesville, Virginia, together, along with Simon Roach in South Africa. We went up there back, during the big battle of Charlottesville. We were all there together, and so we're coming back. We've been wanting to get this radio show. I was in a deer camp. I was telling my best friend, he's pretty wealthy. I told him we have to do something for the people in South Africa. And so I said, I think we'll try to get a radio show and just dedicate it to nothing but global white genocide, and dedicate our poster child for the global white genocide of South Africa. But as you well know, it's going on all over the world right now. It's in the form of soft genocide, and what a lot of people love to call ethnic cleansing. I think Paul Fromm earlier called it displacement, which is the same thing. It's just soft genocide. But in the name, Blood River came to me in a dream. So some months later, we got this show going, and it's been a miracle. Sam Sam Bushman, he syndicates our show along with about, I guess, 15, 20, 30 others, and he lets us get by with murder. God bless him. I love him to death. You know what? He loves us. We love him. He lets us just do pretty much what we want to do. Let me tell you what, we have had, he never calls us down for our guests. We have the Klan on. We had the second in command of the Lincoln Rockwell branch of the American Nazi Party on. We're the only radio station in the United States that I know of that we have the first. We don't just talk about the First Amendment; we preach it. But anyway, I'm going to shut the hell up, Mr. Edwards. We'll bring our other guests on in just a minute. But would you give us a little bit of bio? I'm just going to call you Ed. It's okay. My name's Ed, too. I know you're affiliated with this DIXIE Heritage. Tell us something about, give us your bio, if you don't mind, Mr. Edwards.
Well, I've been a Baptist preacher, a Baptist pastor for the last 32 years. And in 2015, the Southern Baptist Convention effectively declared war against all things Southern and all things Confederate. And in doing so, they passed resolutions basically condemning everybody who signed the founding documents of the Southern Baptist Convention, because every one of them, to the man, a few years after founding the Southern Baptist Convention, became Confederates. I was just so blown away by this, and I was actually working for the Florida Baptist Convention at the time. And so I was in a position to start writing responses to this in the state newspapers around the country. And then the national leadership put it out to the editors of the papers. They're like, stop running his stuff because too many people are agreeing with him. I ended up starting DIXIE Heritage as a means of getting the word out about the attacks that were not only coming against our heritage and our history in the religious area, but then, of course, about the same time, the whole Dillon roof thing happened. And, you know, the flag came down in South Carolina, and then it almost became like a domino effect. And so we ended up getting into political lobbying and advocating for the preservation of our monuments. And I just figured it up the other day. Only 108 monuments have been taken down since the Dillon roof incident. And there are 1,740 that are still standing. And our lobbying efforts through DIXIE Heritage, I'm attributing to keeping at least 1,225 from being taken down. So I don't mean to brag, Eddie, but and I'm not the only person out there lobbying for these things, but at least in a small part, I'm responsible for the fact that 1,225 monuments are still standing and that only 108 have been taken down. I know a lot of us, we get discouraged every week. I report in our weekly DIXIE Heritage newsletter about another monument going down. But this last week, I told our readers, I said, but hey, that's less than 10%. The other 1,740 are still standing. And, you know, by continuing to support our work and then works like your efforts as well, you know, our people can ensure that our monuments continue to stand and that our heritage continues to be preserved and that our ideology continues to be promoted, even though, you know, the marketplace is so violently opposed to it.
Well, I salute you for that. I'll just call you Ed, too. But we come to a break. We'll be right back. We have a short break, people. Get you some coffee, whatever, but don't stay long because it's a short break. We'll be right back with Mr. Edward DeFries in just a minute.
Open your web browser and type in www.barnesreview.org and discover the Barnes Review magazine. In the Barnes Review, you will read vignettes of man, from the prehistoric to the very recent, from forgotten races and civilizations to first-person accounts of World War II and the late Cold War. There is no more interesting magazine published today, nor a more significant and important subject than real history. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review. You can subscribe to receive the Barnes Review magazine in its print form, or in convenient electronic delivery. Our host has been a subscriber to both formats for years. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review.
Hello, I'm Tom Strain, Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. The Confederate flag, Confederate symbols, and the reputation of our Confederate ancestors has come under attack. The Sons of Confederate Veterans is actively fending off our detractors, but there is only so much that we can do. We need your help. Contact your local, state, and national elected politicians and tell them that you will not tolerate these attacks on our heritage. You can also visit scv.org Download an application to join us in our fight to preserve our Southern heritage. Visit scv.org today. If you don't have a Confederate ancestor and you are tired of American history disappearing, you can assist us by becoming a friend of the SCV. Please visit scvheritagedefense.org and make a donation to the Heritage Defense Fund. We hope that you will join us in the fight to defend the Confederate soldiers' good name.
As the United States boldly stepped forward in the glorious light provided by its new Constitution in 1787, the nations of the earth were in awe of the newfound strength and hope of this free land. Today, the nation stands at a crossroads. A divergence from the original intent put forth in the United States Constitution has brought grave threats to our beloved nation. A miracle is needed if the United States is to survive. That miracle is again the pure application of the United States Constitution. I'm Scott Bradley. In my To Preserve the Nation book and lecture series, I bring forth truths that will help raise up a new generation of statesmen like those noble Americans who founded this land. Vigorous application of these principles will invigorate and restore the nation, and we may become again the freest, most prosperous, most respected, and happiest nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com to begin that restoration.
Well, people, thank you so much for holding on. We're getting ready to go right back to Mr. Ed. And Ed, I had no idea. If I know you were a recovering Baptist like I am, I would have had you do the prayer. Normally, like I said to the audience, in case you probably heard me say, we always open the show. It's a 2-hour show. We open up our very first segment. We do what we call the house cleaning part. We talk about what we did last week, what we're going to do tonight, what we're going to do next week, any big announcements we have to make, et cetera, et cetera. But before we do all that, we always do the prayer. And tonight, I got things bum-fuzzled up. I was trying to hurry up. I knew Mr. Paul Fromm, he's old like I am, and he's real impatient. I know I was looking for him to cut in any time. So somehow, it's all his fault. I forgot the prayer. If I'd have known you were a Baptist minister, I'd have had you do the prayer. But thank you so much. I'm glad to know that, because a lot of people nowadays, they kind of think you're an idiot if you believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and they don't cotton and no praying around here, But we do. As long as I have anything to do with Blood River Radio, we will always dedicate our show to the greater glory of Jesus Christ, and we'll always, try to do what He says. But I would like to say, Ed, that I really admire what you're doing. You're doing, we do a lot of talk. A lot of people do a lot of talk, and we talk about the problems, but we never, most of us, I include myself, we don't do enough. A lot of people don't do anything, but I really admire what you've done. You've taken concrete action, you and I guess the people that work with you, to save these statues, and only 10% have been destroyed. That's amazing. But I would like to ask you, if you will, also, what's the latest action you've had that you've taken? Which statues have you saved recently? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, in Alabama and in Mississippi, particularly, there are monument protection laws in place, and basically what we've been able to do is we've been able to basically encourage the legislatures and the governors in those states to simply enforce the law. And by doing that, there have been several local, municipalities that basically the city councils and the county commissioners in those areas have either ordered a monument to be taken down, or else they've ordered an investigative study to see, well, what would it take to remove this monument or to replace this monument? And the State Historical Society or the governor or someone has stepped in and said, no, you're not going to be able to do that. Sometimes it's the state's attorney general, like in Alabama. They've stepped in. They said, no, we're not going to allow you to do that. There's a law in our state that prevents you from doing that, and we're going to enforce that law. In Alabama, they went so far as to threaten to impose a fine of $2,500 a day upon the city of Birmingham if they even dared to touch the monument.
We had something like that here in Memphis, Tennessee, because we had a great. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful statues we've ever seen. It was a statue of the one and only wizard in the saddle, General Nathan Bedford Forrest. It was taken down. I mean, I've never felt, I can't tell you, I had the weirdest feeling when they kind of broke in, the news broke in. They did it about 11:30 or 12 o'clock at night, if I remember. It was a cold, rainy night, and they knew that nobody would be out there, would have time to marshal troops to prevent that. They also took down a statue of President Jefferson Davis. He was the president of the South, as everybody well knows. Would you not say something to say, Lee?
Yeah, I was just saying, our Tennessee government failed us. They could have called in the state troopers, but they didn't want to go that far.
Well, the law was in place in Tennessee to protect that monument, and the city disregarded it, and the state simply, like you said, refused to enforce it.
Yes, that's true. And I think one time when they took the city employees, some of them were wearing masks so they wouldn't be identified in some of these exercises they do against our heritage.
I know, yeah, absolutely. I see. They totally disregard the law. They did not enforce the law. You're so right there, Ed. I don't want to get too hot because I don't want to. I'm not sure you're not as hot as I am, but sooner or later we're going to have to take the law in our own hands, and we're going to have to go and get rid of these ne'er-do-wells, these people that are trampling on the law, that are not enforcing the law. We're going to do it ourselves. But I'd like to introduce one of my hosts tonight, Jacob Tyler, who's been hanging on a while. And I told Jacob that what we're going to talk about tonight, and the Confederate heritage, antebellum culture, Western civilization. Jacob, would you like to ask our guest a question, son?
Absolutely, and great to be hanging on with you guys in the second hour here. I think it's the first time in a while I've actually been on for the whole show with you guys, so having a blast, and it's always a pleasure to be on the air with you. Dr. DeVries, you have been on my short list of people to meet, actually, so it's a tremendous honor to be on the air with you tonight as well. I had heard your name before in our circles, but my friend Paul Angel, who's the editor of the Barnes Review and an assistant editor of American Free Press, and I know your show, the Dixie Heritage Hour, is on TBR Radio and whatnot. He had been speaking very highly of you to me, and your name has come up with other folks I've talked to also, like the attorney Kirk Lyons, who's also very involved in the Defending Our Monuments work. So it's a tremendous honor for me to meet you on air tonight. I've been hearing great things about you for a while, and like I said, you've been on one of my short lists of people in the movement to meet. And do I understand correctly that you have authored over 30 books and that you actually hold 6 university and seminary degrees?
Yes, sir, that is correct. And if you tap my name into Amazon, the books will come up. The university degrees, I tell people that you go for 2 years, you get an associate's degree. You go for 4 years, you get a bachelor's degree. You go another year, they give you a master's degree. And then every year after that, they just give you a doctorate because you're not smart enough to leave.
Well, your modesty does you well, but that is certainly very impressive. I mean, I was already impressed with you just based off of the accolades I'd heard about you regarding your work in the movement, but I didn't even realize at first, based on what I had heard about you already, which was quite substantial and very positive, was that you were such a credentialed individual. So, I understand the whole dynamic of a degree nowadays doesn't mean a whole lot, but what it still, represents is that you have put in the work. You are a scholar, and you have actually, not only do you actually stand for hardcore truth, but you have actually gone through the effort to even be acknowledged by men for the work that you do as well. Not in the same vein, of course. You're rather hated for that, naturally. but yeah, it's always impressive to me when someone can do what you do in our circles, but also be an academic in a formal capacity as well, because it's very hard. We know we've seen all kinds of examples of how petty academia is, like the scholar Germar Rudolph, who did some really excellent work in regards to the history of the Holocaust and Germany and World War II, and assembled a very amazing team of scholars and put together the Holocaust Handbook series, which he sells on his website. and it's just this, encyclopedic historical tome, on Holocaust history and everything. And of course, it questions the official story in this very academic and scholarly way, but it goes into minutia and everything that even mainstream historians don't go into. And the guy graduated from the Max Planck Institute, which is one of the biggest universities in Germany, with honors. And once he came out as a maverick scholar, they actually were trying to revoke his credentials, and just deny the hard work that he'd done from that. So very impressive, and he's an example of that, and I commend you for that. That's not even the question I wanted to get into, though. So hopefully,
well, sir, we got to go to a break now. They're going to revoke our credentials. We got to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back with these two intellectuals. I feel kind of out of place tonight, but anyway, well, I'll do the best I can. People, will be right back, and I can't wait to get back to listen to these guys talk. Hang on your seats.
Your daily Liberty News Wire. You're listening to Liberty News Radio. USA Radio News with John Hunt.
2 United States service members were killed and 2 others injured when their vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb in southern Afghanistan. In keeping with Defense Department rules, the U.S. military did not identify the service members. The Taliban immediately took responsibility for the attack. More than 2,400 United States service members have been killed in Afghanistan. Last year was one of the deadliest for the U.S., with 23 American troops killed even after Washington engaged in peace talks with the Taliban. Dangerous weather is targeting more than 30 million Americans this weekend. A fast-moving storm is sweeping across parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast and Southeast, and it's already been blamed for at least 3 deaths in Louisiana. Tornadoes have been reported in at least 3 states. The storm has dropped heavy rain and wind across Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Missouri, and Arkansas. This is USA Radio News.
Extra, read all about it. If you're like me, and I'll bet you are, you like to be on the cutting edge of honest news and accurate information. 26 times a year, the American Free Press newspaper can be delivered to your door, packed with the kind of uncensored news that I know you're going to appreciate. If you're ever dissatisfied with your subscription to the American Free Press, their guarantee is that you just drop them an email and they will gladly refund the unused portion of your subscription. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.americanfreepress.net. Once again, www.americanfreepress.net. And find out about the American Free Press. Do it today. Extra, read all about it.
I actually thought, given the number of commercials that were on the Blood River Radio show, as I was doing this show, I thought, man, they break for more commercials than we do over at TBR Radio. But hey, you got to pay the bills, and God bless them that they've got sponsors who are willing to advertise on their show. And if you would like to advertise on this show, we want to talk to you about that. So email me, director@DixieHeritage.net, director@DixieHeritage.net, and we can talk about your advertising here on the Dixie Heritage Show. But I had honestly thought that I could take that hour-long interview and compress it into a half-an-hour show. It didn't work that way. But that's okay, because there's always next week. And so next week, we will share the second half of what was this great interview with me on Eddie Miller's Blood River Radio show. Of course, Jacob Tyler was about to ask me a big question. And tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and you'll get to hear that question, or the series of questions. You'll also get to hear my answers to them. And so you'll look forward to that, I'm sure. Anyways, if you'll go to Eddie Miller's website, bloodriverradio.com, you can check out Blood River Radio. Go to thebarnesreview.org. You can check out TBR Radio. Go to my website, www.DixieHeritage.net, www.DixieHeritage.net. You can find out how you can subscribe to my free weekly email newsletter, and when you do, I will also send you a free copy of my book, The Truth About the Confederate Battle Flag, and I will do so at absolutely no cost and no obligation to you whatsoever. One more thing before I go, in case you're wondering, Jacob Tyler, the co-host of Blood River Radio, who was about to ask me the big question, he is the son of Rick Tyler. And Rick Tyler, of course, is running for president of the United States as the nominee candidate of the American Freedom Party. And so if you thought you recognized that name, Jacob Tyler, you did. Anyways, that'll be next week. I know you'll be back next week. We will too. So until then, God bless.